Welcome back. We are here with Pete from CMG Home Services. Pete, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. It is great to chat with you. So you've been in the mortgage industry for 4 years. What inspired you to get into this?
I really fell into it. I'll completely honest. There was no inspiration. There was no. Um, I was hating what I was doing for a living uh, beforehand, um, and I went to refinance my house, and I started talking to my loan officer at that time, and she basically was like, you're kind of pissing and moaning and telling me all these things that you don't like about what you do right now. Why don't you do what I do? And I was like, I don't even know what you do. And so I kind of she kind of guided me and luckily I got to work for a bank at that time that kind of taught me the way, how to be a loan officer. So, yeah, it was all luck.
I like that. And it's funny, how kind of life just guides you in different directions. And when someone is buying a house, what is the most important thing that they should know?
Um, the cool thing is that I always like anytime I'm talking to a new client or talking to somebody that wants to talk anything mortgage related, I try to just instantly put myself in their shoes because literally 2 years prior to me becoming a loan officer, I bought my first house and I didn't even know anything about anything. So what's the most important thing? I guess it's really, in my opinion, it would be, uh, what are you comfortable paying per month? Get that kind of really dialed in. What's your ceiling, right? What's the absolute most that you would want to fit inside of your budget, and then where is your credit at, and kind of what does your credit look like? What does the history look like? Maybe you have a bad score, but it's on the rebuild, or maybe you have a great score, or maybe you have a terrible score, but you've also never been advised ever on how to get it to not be terrible. So I think, yeah, what's your max budget and credit?
And what is the top misconception that you've seen when people go to buy a house?
Oh man, there's a million of them. It's
What's your top
terrible.
one?
I would say top ones easily got it. I mean, I hear it all the time. It's just the very simple. Somebody is saying like, "Oh, I didn't even know I could afford a house," or "I didn't even think this." But I talk to so many people on a daily basis that are like, "There's no way I'm going to get approved. It's not in the cards for me." And I got denied for a credit card last year, and there's just no way it's going to happen. And I'm kind of like, hold on.
Yeah.
There's I tell people that mortgages, it's plug and play, right? It's not like a credit card. It's not like, hey, here's my info, pass or fail. It's not. It's very, well, what if we do it this way? Or what if we had this much down? Or what if we went with this program? So I think the common misconception easily is just there's so many people out there that really do believe I can't do this. And
Yeah.
I've never tried, and I'm not going to talk to anybody about this because there's no use. And I think that's worse than anything else.
Yeah. And you also mentioned, like people getting pre-approved or not thinking that they can get pre-approved. Why is it so important for someone to get pre-approved before they start looking for their house?
So I mean, it all comes down to like, what is a pre-approval, right? A pre-approval is essentially you're coming to the housing market and saying, "Hey, I've got a bank in my back pocket, and the bank checked out my stuff, and the bank said I'm good."
Yeah.
Now, what kind of stinks when doing that? It's really picking who's doing that for you, right? Having a good bank behind you, having a good local lender behind you that is reputable, that when writing offers, around your market, that someone's going to see that pre-approval from that bank and go, "Oh, I've done stuff with Pete before," or "Oh, I know Key Bank down the street," or whatever bank it is. Um, it's the reputation of who's issuing that, because there are tons and tons and tons of banks that'll issue that piece of paper and have not done any due diligence behind it. But that's essentially, what a pre-approval is. You're coming to the table and saying, "Hey, my bank said I'm good." Um, And that's extremely important. Nobody's going to take you seriously when writing offers on houses if you don't have one.
And I think it's super important for people to be educated on that, because I feel like in the beginning, when people are trying to get them to be pre-approved, it's a lot like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's a huge headache, but that agent or that lender is saving that buyer so much more headache in the
Well,
future.
so many people are like, oh, I'm not going to get pre-approved until I find the house.
Yeah.
Well, the last 4 years, a market like this, by the time you do get pre-approved, and it doesn't take long, for somebody like me, it would take, upwards of 24, 48 hours.
Yeah.
Another bank might take a week. But in that amount of time, that house that you just fell in love with, goodbye. Somebody else
Yeah.
wrote an offer on it. It got accepted. And it's gone. So, yeah, what an agent is trying to advise a client to do is, hey, let's get all that stuff done before we even go and look at shiny toys. Like, why am I going to go to a Ferrari dealership knowing damn well I can't even afford one? Why would I go
Yeah.
there? Why would I walk through it and go, man, the car I'm going to get stinks because I just drove a Ferrari,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
And I think
I think it's so important.
it is. And I think that's like that education piece is crucial. And when getting pre-approved, there's so many different loans that you can get: conventional, VA, like FHA. And I think the biggest two, at least that I've seen, is a lot of confusion between the FHA and the VA. Could you kind of explain the difference between the FHA loan and the VA loan?
So they're both very, very, very similar. Okay. They're both government backed loans. Um, and they both go by pretty much the same criteria. The only difference is a VA loan. What qualifies you for a VA loan is obviously being an active or past service member, in the military. And then there's different stipulations inside of that. But a VA loan is a benefit of being, a member of our armed services. So I often will encourage people, hey, if you were in the military, let's use your benefit.
Yeah.
And it's a benefit that you can use time and time again. It's not just a one-time thing. What's the difference between the two of them? Not really much. I mean, not everybody can qualify for a VA loan, right? Because you'd have to be in the military or previously in the military. Other than that, I mean, they're both criteria wise, they're the same. I mean, VA loan, there's no down payment, there's no mortgage insurance. Those are obviously some perks. There could or could not be a funding fee, all based on your exemption benefit and from the VA. But they're both generally the same. What they're looking for, what a government backed loan really means is that if for whatever reason you were to default on your loan and not pay your mortgage, and the house needed to be sold, to get the government wants to recoup their money,
Yeah.
right? So it's government backed. So they want the house to fit a very square kind of criteria. Do all the doors shut? Do the windows latch? Is there any chipping paint? Is there, a GFI, on the sink in the bathroom? Little nitpicky stuff, or more intricate stuff, all depending on like foundations and things like that. But generally, it's just, hey, is this a well-rounded house?
Yeah.
Basically, if we've got to sell this thing, we at least want to make our money, right? That's what the government's saying.
Yeah.
But
And
they're both generally the same.
yeah. And what is one way that you try to stand out as a mortgage lender?
I mean, I've told you this a gang of times. You and I have been buddies for the last couple of years. And you and I used to do business together many years ago. But I've built my whole business on just being the guy that's pulling back the curtain, right? I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to lie about. I don't have anything, right? So it's just, if a deal's going bad and maybe I screwed up and made a personal error, I'm the guy that's going to call my real estate partner and say, hey partner, I made a boo-boo. I'm fixing it right now. No worries, but I made a boo-boo. We're getting it all hashed out with our client. All is good and well. Um, because in this business, the educate or the communication side of things is where, right, a real estate agent and a mortgage lender have to work hand in hand, to help a client get to, the closing table. In this industry, there's a lot of communication that just doesn't happen. And I've never understood why. I've never really got it. So I've really hung on to, how do I make myself different? I talk. You just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's bad, even if it's good news or if you have no news at all, I would just call my agent and be like, hey, Judy Smith that we have closing on 123 Main Street next week. Nothing new to tell you. I'm just calling to say what's up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's how I've at least, it's done me well. So I don't think I'm going to get away from it. So.
And I think that's so crucial, especially as we go more and more digital. I feel like the customer service is just not there in business in general. So I like how you're really focusing on the communication side of things to your agents.
I even learned something just the other day. I'm purchasing a home as we speak right now. Okay, and I've got a loan officer who is in Idaho. Okay, so obviously there's no way for us to be person to person.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go over numbers. I wanted to talk about a couple of things, and he even got me on a call like this, and we sat and we're able to look at each other. And he was able to bring up his screen and show me and compare some things, and we were looking at different loan options and different down payment amounts and stuff like that. And I even thought to myself in the middle of my own personal call, I was like, man, I could do this for somebody who maybe doesn't have the time to make their way into my office, or lives just a little bit away, or I'm licensed in multiple states, so maybe they're in another state. Man, just this side of things, the being able to see somebody, hey, I'm a real guy, I got real things. There's dogs in the background, we got kids running around, but let me at
Yeah.
least be a human with you, and
Hmm.
go over these numbers and really break down and answer all the questions that you have. Um, I just recently experienced that myself, and I was like, "Whoa, this man! Maybe I start doing this. Maybe I
Yeah.
start getting people on face to face calls."
Yeah.
So,
I think bringing the more that you can bring the human aspect back to business, the better. And you also have a mentor, Marty Bin. How important is it to have that person next to you that has that previous success for your success?
and it's not even really based on success. It's really just somebody who's like seen situations before. I think that's really where I lean on, Marty, my who I would call my current mentor, and I've had people who have mentored me uh, from other companies, and as I've been coming up, I think the biggest thing is just they've seen more stuff than you. So it's an opportunity to, as you run into something, going, I don't know, and being able to reference back to them and go, hey, can you help me out? I've never seen this before, or having an issue with and it could even be like a client and how they interact, and they're just socially trying to, hey, I really want to give her this news and I want to give it to her in the right way, but I kind of understand she's kind of emotional and things kind of get her really wound up when I'm giving her just any news at all. How do I kind of approach this? I mean, the, just having the ability to go to somebody in so many different situations and them just be like, oh, I've seen this a million times. Try it this way. Or, you know what? I just ran into that last week. This is what I did to solve that problem. I think it's huge. I think anybody that is in any sort of business, I don't care what it is, find somebody that you could at least just call in any capacity and just go, what did you do when you saw this? Or better yet, maybe if you haven't seen it, what would you do? Because you're more experienced in this field than me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what is one characteristic or quality of yourself that you are most proud of?
Mm, man, that's a good question. Um, that I'm most proud of. I think that I think my superpower, I would call it, would be like, I have the inability to like be, to not be me. Like I can't, I catch myself all the time, swearing on phone calls with clients who
Yeah.
make way more money than me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to be rude there. I didn't mean to, when we're in a professional setting and they're like, oh, dude, you're a human. You're talking.
Yeah.
I get it. We're ebbing and flowing. All is good. So I think, yeah, I don't even know how to be anybody else but me. Um, Being fake or turning on a face or
Yeah.
suit and tie, I can't do it. I can't like it. I sit down and I'm just like, hey, this is Pete Schlegel. If you can, if you like it, cool. If you don't, also cool. That, you know, we can still be friends. So yeah, I don't know how to not be me.
I love that. And I think we need more people being themselves. And I think that authenticity of you showing your human side will attract the people that actually want to work with you instead of, going on TikTok or showing up to a meeting, not being you. You go down the line with the client, you pull the real Pete back, and they're like, where did this guy come from? Where's the suit and tie? Or where's the guy that spoke like properly? So I really like that about you.
I've even gotten that before. I've gotten a client from like a social media, right? An Instagram or a TikTok.
Yeah.
And I've gotten them on a call where it's just them and we're talking about their loan situation. And I get talking to them and they're like, you're the same guy that I was watching your videos or whatever, your silly thing on TikTok, and you're the same dude. I'm like, good. Like I hope so. I don't know how to be anything else. I don't try to be anything else when I'm posting a TikTok, and I'm not trying to be anything else, when I'm
Yeah.
sitting here talking to you. So, yeah, I think authenticity wins
Yes.
100% of the time. Like it, without a shadow of a doubt, it wins. Just be you, and like you said, you're going to attract the people that really want to work with you, and even the people that you're not the cup of tea, and they don't want to work with you. That's okay. You're still going to make a presence in the field that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. I have two more questions.
Okay.
If you could have dinner with two people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. I'm really big. I'm like on my own family heritage. Okay, so if anything, if I could go back in time just a little bit, I would like to have dinner with my grandfather and ask him more direct questions about like our direct family and just like that history. There's something about like me being so self-aware, trying to be as authentic as I am. It's just knowing where I came from or knowing, what my family was kind of built on. So I think if anything, or even maybe even farther than my grandfather, like my great grandfather or my
Yeah.
great great grandfather, like sitting down with those guys and being like, what does the family's name mean to you? Like, and be able to sit and have those type of conversations with them. I think that would be, oh my gosh, that would be the greatest thing ever. Present person. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. Anybody that wants to sit with me, that's my answer. Like anybody that would be willing to. I'm such a social person, and I'm so into just learning about anything. Like I want to sit with somebody and let them tell me their stuff. So anybody that would be into talking to me, and expressing themselves to me, presently that's who I would want to sit with.
That's interesting. I like it. I have one more question. Why did you
Yeah.
decide to partner with us and offer the discounts?
Um, I think what you guys are doing just makes sense. I think just the whole space, the whole field. I think what you guys are it's different. Um, and I think it gives an opportunity for the businesses themselves to connect with each other, right? And then it gives an opportunity for a customer to come in and get a bunch of deals on some cool stuff. I mean, I think on both sides, right? Customer and, the person that is providing the service. I think it's just everybody is benefiting. It becomes a community, it becomes a family. I think just and I know that's really what, you're really big on. And
Yeah.
I don't know, you started when you brought it to me, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Like this, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Pete. I appreciate the kind words. That's all the questions I have. Um, is there anything that you want to say to people, and how can people find you?
How can people find me? I'm launching my own show soon. It doesn't even have a name, but you will see it all over my social media. So if you go to Pete Schlegs, it's part of my last name, but Pete Schlegs on Instagram, um, Loans by Pete on Facebook. Um, I think I'm Loan Pete on TikTok. find me on my social media. I have my own show that I am going to be kicking out here in the next like week. I'm like on the prep, like the thing is like about to
Yeah.
bust out of the box. It's happening. So that and anything I want to say to anybody, I'm a loan officer. So honestly, what I like doing is I like helping people, or at least educating people when it comes to mortgages. Um, so if maybe you've talked to a bank before, or you've talked to just anybody in real estate and you've been thinking about getting anything that has to do with real estate, and maybe the first guy or lady that you talked to, it sounded like a bunch of hoopla, or they didn't really explain it well, or who knows, you had a terrible experience, but your Aunt Judy told you to talk to the guy. Whatever. If you want to call me, I will be this guy. I will be this guy, and I will tell you yes, no, and absolutely why. So that is my parting take.
Well, Pete, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And it was a great conversation.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man.